independent work system. I've got your questions and answers about setting up systems that really work. Hey, special educators, it's Jennifer from Positively Learning. Yesterday, I got to do something really fun. It was a little bit scary too. I gave a free training to hundreds of teachers just like you. The presentation is called Taskbox Magic, Setting Up Your Independent Work Systems for Student Success. I wanted to make sure it was as helpful as possible. So before the training, I asked questions and I had a Q&A session at the end. You guys have the best questions, so now I want to dedicate this episode to answering them. If you did not attend the training, it's not too late. We have 2 more sessions. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. It is a free 1-hour training. If you're interested in task boxes and having your students work independently, you don't want to miss it. Hey, special educators, I'm Jennifer from Positively Learning. Welcome to the Special Educators Resource Room. If you're like me, you're always looking for ways to save time and streamline your work. That's why this podcast was created, to give you the systems and solutions you need to get your time back. Tune in for tips, tricks, and tools that will help you manage your workload and make the most of your time. Whether you're brand new or experienced, all are welcome in the Special Educators Resource Room. Let's dive into your questions. They ranged from asking about what task boxes to use to how to set them up for student success. Question 1, how do you organize systems so that you can find the task boxes you need? Such a good question, very valid. When we have students working with task boxes, there's a potential that they're going to zip through several task boxes in one sitting. So we're talking about a high quantity of tasks to stay organized with. In the free training, I show how I organize my tasks with a master spreadsheet using Google Sheets. I have different columns like task box name and description. I can have a column for a category or skill or theme, a checkbox whether I've prepped it or not, or whether I've assigned it or not. And these columns can be sorted in Google Sheets and searched, and that made it really easy to know what I had and what I wanted to use. I also show a color coding system that I use directly on the task boxes. It took a while to come up with that system. I had tried several things, including using the suitcases and labels, but this system with a combination of a master spreadsheet and color coding worked best for us. Question 2, how often do you change out your task boxes? I love this question, and my answer may surprise you. I don't change them out. The system that I set up, we used all year. We just added to the system. We never took away. So task boxes did not get changed out. You could consider changing them out if you were doing specific holidays or themes. But what I wanted to do was organize mine by skill. That way, whether a student is working on that skill in September, November, March, that was still going to be there for them. I did have that color coding system in place, so my students would move along a continuum as the school year progressed. So that doesn't mean they were using the same task boxes all year, but I never had to change them out. We instead had our library of task boxes, and they just continued to be added to throughout the school year. That's a great question. I hope my answer made sense. It's much easier to show rather than tell. Question 3, I work with resource level students, so I'm looking for ways to incorporate task boxes. My groups are back to back, so reset has to be pretty quick. Suggestions? Oh my goodness, you're going to love task boxes because that reset is not being done by you. It's being done by students. Part of the independent work system routine that we are putting into place, modeling and practicing with students till they get that routine. This reset is all done by them. So you don't have to do anything. And that is what's so dreamy about task boxes. So if you have back to back, you feel like you have a revolving door, task boxes are going to seem like a dream come true. So students are working independently. The goal is from start to finish, and that includes the reset. So when a new group of students come in, task boxes should look exactly the same as they do when they leave. Question 4. Do you use paras to collect data while students are using the task boxes? Absolutely. That's a great idea. Any adult could be using this time and using task boxes as performance assessments. You just want to be clear on what data you're going to be collecting. If you're collecting data on the skill, then you can use observation and grab a quick yes, no, or a plus minus, or an accuracy out of 10, or whatever number of tasks students are doing. You also could use task boxes to collect data on how students are doing with the independent work process, maybe using a rubric to see where students are thriving and where we can still provide additional support. Personally, I think task boxes are a great opportunity to collect data like this because I found that my students were so engaged and they were excited to show me what they knew and what they were working on. I felt like the data I was collecting was much more valid than if I was just doing like a cold call assessment. My students were kind of like grumbling a little bit or not exactly clear on what I was asking them to do. They had that familiarity with task boxes because we were using them all the time. So I felt that that data was really valid. Thanks for that question. Question 5. Is it wise to have 2 students using one task box and complete different ones? Okay, let me tackle the first part of that question. No, I would not have 2 students working with one task box. Personally, that just wouldn't be a task box anymore. Task boxes are independent and done with one student, one task box. It's customized to them. However, you can use them however you want. If you are building up social skills, maybe it makes more sense to have task boxes used in that way, but they wouldn't necessarily be quote unquote task boxes. I have brought task boxes to the small group table to have students work on together. You can use them as a warm-up, then you could gradually release the activity to student pairs or individual students. So you can use these once you've prepped them any way that you want. But for a traditional independent work system, I would not have 2 students working together. Okay, in question 6, how many task boxes do you recommend for a class to keep things engaging and interesting? So I don't want to freak you out, but I did have hundreds of task boxes. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have hundreds at all. I'm thinking students are going to zip through anywhere from 1 to 3 task boxes in one sitting. If you have a group of students, then 6 students, 3 task boxes each, 18 task boxes. And then I would suggest doubling that amount, maybe 36 task boxes, so that you can offer variety. Students have different strengths and different interests and different needs. Having those extra tasks on hand mean that you can mix and match, and I do reuse task boxes. For example, if I had a student that usually did about 3 tasks in one sitting, I may be pre-selecting 2 of those tasks and having the students select a task. And often they will select a task that they love, they've done before. So task boxes can be reused. These are such great questions. If your question was not answered, it is not too late to jump into the live training. The link will be in the show notes. There's 2 more dates coming up. If you're listening to this in real time, the dates are July 25th, that's a Thursday at 1 o'clock, and there's another date on August 3rd, which is a Saturday at 9:15. Here's just a few comments from yesterday's workshop. This is fantastic. My teacher brain is whirling. Thank you. This was a great webinar. I really learned a lot. I feel much more confident starting task boxes. I'm recommending this workshop for my teacher. These tips are so helpful in keeping all of these ideas organized. Oh, my teacher heart is so full. You know I love talking about task boxes with you. Definitely click the link in the show notes and reserve your spot for the next free training. And in the meantime, hop over to Task Boxes Teaching. It's the Facebook group that is growing quickly. It is a group for members of the TaskBox Dollar Club, which is the membership for teachers with access to hundreds of task boxes in the library. But it's also a Facebook group for those who are not in the club yet, because you have wonderful questions, ideas, and we're here to support you. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time in the Special Educators Resource Room. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe buttons so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.